If you have free reign, you might have done, but I think we now understand why Haraki was the man offered up in exchange. Paul O'Brien said, Burke hasn't been getting game time and hasn't been good enough. We are lacking in backs, but Chamberlain has signed a contract for 2019 with Salford, so I understand why he would want to go and gain game time. We will see what Weller brings to the Vikings. 3/4... Oh, that's another news story. Oh, that's what I've done with that one. Right, I realise now what I've done. I thought I'd written that one in and then it disappeared. Now I know what I've done. Right, okay, so in terms of this, I kind of think it's a zero-sum deal. If anyone's got slightly better of it, it's Salford, because they got 2 players, and what that squad was lacking was depth. They have let Levi Nzugu, whatever, go out on loan to Swinton today. So that's, I don't know what they're doing, because they're preventing themselves from gaining depth constantly by bringing people in and letting people go. But I guess that's just a situation with their costs and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't have else really to say on this one other than Ed Chamberlain has shown promise occasionally, so good for Salford to get depth to me.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think it's fine. As you say, I think obviously Burke was with you, wasn't he? And a bit unfulfilled talent, but he's still he's still got age on his side as for a prop. So you never know. It might be a better fit for him.
Fair enough. Do you want to take us on to some Leeds Rhinos news?
Yeah, so 3/4 Ash Handley has signed a new 3-year deal with the reigning Super League champions, Leeds Rhinos. The 22-year-old began his Rhinos career on the wing, but has established a centre spot in Brian McDermott's 2018 squad.
Yeah, and also Leeds news, Adam Cuthbertson has signed a new 2-year deal. The 33-year-old who joined the Super League club from NRL side Newcastle in 2015 was meant to be out of contract at the end of the season, so they've tied him down now for another couple of years, well into his mid-30s. He's also the coach of the ladies side that are going so well, so I'm not sure if that's played into things at all, but it's a sensible bit of business from that side of things as much as it is from him being an important part of that first team playing squad as well. I think I'm surprised it was a 2-year deal for Cuthbertson, but I think they've made the right sort of choice with Ash Handley, who's shown versatility for them this year, shown ability, he's the top try scorer, I think, for Leeds as well. So he's definitely one that I'm not surprised they've moved to nail down.
No, not at all.
At that club. Okay. Do you want to take us on to what people thought we might have led with, but actually we've slipped in down to the last Super League story?
Only because everyone knows about it anyway. So, suspended Wigan forward Joel Tompkins is set for a move to Hull KR with immediate effect. It's understood that a deal has been agreed between Wigan and Hull KR that will see Joel represent the Rovers with immediate effect until the end of the season, with a view to a permanent move, which I think has been made permanent.
Yeah, it has been confirmed today, actually, yep.
He could make his Rovers debut in their game against Castleford on June the 17th.
So obviously they're not carrying any suspension that he was serving for his club-imposed suspension that he was serving for his impact. He effectively resigned from Wigan to take up the deal with Hull KR. I think it's a neat way to bring to an end a sorry couple of weeks in my eyes. And we can now, as a Wigan club, move on from it. And do you know what? We have moved on from it, because the news I was expecting to be confirmed tomorrow has been confirmed today, which is that Joe Greenwood has signed a 3.5-year contract with immediate effect coming in from the Gold Coast Titans, where he's been completely and unfairly overlooked this year by the new coach.
Completely ignored.
At the Titans, and it's not been acceptable, I don't think, for him as a player who was probably in the conversation for the fringes of the England setup last year, and I'm sure he'll be in the night squad come the end of this season now that he's back playing in England. If I'm completely honest, I think that's the kind of level that Joe Greenwood was at when he left St Helens. It was the kind of level he performed at last year when he was one of the more consistent players for the Gold Coast Titans in the games I saw for what wasn't a great side, but he just didn't fit the new coach's setup. So I'm quite pleased with him coming in at Wigan, and in terms of Joel Tompkins, I think the thing for me with Joel Tompkins is he has given me some great moments in his Wigan career, and I won't ever forget the try he scored at Wembley in 2011. One of the greatest moments I've ever enjoyed as a Wigan fan in the stands. So I'd prefer to remember him for that than the mistake he made that really has speeded up bringing his Wigan career to an end. But I wish him good luck at Hull Kingston Rovers in the qualifiers potentially.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it is. It is a club. It was a club imposed suspension in terms of being the 4-week. I do think it's slightly off that they're just going to bring him straight back in, like nothing's happened. I think that kind of it leaves a bit of a bad taste. Now, I'd be interested to know what KR fans think about it, really, because I think obviously, hopefully Tim will be able to fill us in next week. But yeah,
I think a lot of them are sick of being asked about it from what I gauged off Twitter. We don't have a lot of regular contributors from the Hull KR side of things, other than Tim, obviously, but we do occasionally hear from Dave, who's the coach of the Mighton Warriors under 9s, the Mighty Mighton Warriors under 9s that we sponsor, and he, I think, is keen to think of it as it's been spoken about enough now. The guy messed up. People do mess up. He was punished, and now Hull KR need to.
He was punished, and then we're just going to ignore the punishment.
Get on with. Well, he was punished by leaving the club that was second in the table. And,
yeah, true.
And where he was on probably a better contract than he's going to be on at Hull Kingston Rovers, to playing for a club that's fighting for Super League survival, and potentially he'll be, making trips around the championship clubs in August and September, rather than trips potentially to Old Trafford and places like that. So, I think, I don't know. I see it as punishment enough, dropping down from the top third of the league to the bottom third of the league.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to talk about him, really, to be brutally honest with you.
Fair enough.
I do think it's a bit questionable, just to, even if it's just to stand him down for a couple of weeks, I don't know. We'll see.
I suppose to be so upfront about let's get him in the side. I do get where you're coming from. There wasn't even talk about he still needs to address the mistakes he made. It was more like that was a one-off. See you later with that mistake, and
I mean the redemption train's in full flight. I can see it coming, and we'll see how the story pans out. But there you go.
Well, if it's anything like what happens to every other player that steps out of line, you're right. Redemption over recriminations. Okay, moving on to someone else who we're not going to talk about much, but we're just going to report the story. A national anti-doping panel has imposed a 4-year suspension on Rochdale Hornets player Harry Reardon after he was found to be in breach of the RFL's anti-doping regulations. Reardon tested positive for a metabolite of drostanolone and exogenous 19-norandrosterone, both anabolic steroids, in an I should have practiced them, shouldn't I? In an out-of-competition test conducted in November 2017. Reardon is suspended from all sport until the 30th of November 2021. So, cheating and punished for it. What else has been going on? We'll move into some championship news now. Do you want some more championship news? But
so Hull KR utility back Kieran Moss has joined Championship side Halifax on loan until the end of the 2018 season. Moss has scored 17 tries in 24 appearances for the Robins and has spent time on dual registration with York City Knights in League One.
So he played in the Championship last year, didn't he, for the Bulls? Did he play for the Bulls much? He was at the Bulls, wasn't he?
He played for the Bulls in our last year of Super League. And then he moved for 2015 to Hull KR, and he's been around there, kind of on loan, in and out of the team, ever since, really, hasn't he?
He scored. He had a cracking game at the Magic weekend.
Yeah, exactly. He's when he's come in, he's done nothing wrong, in my opinion. He's a cracking piece of business for Halifax after losing QLT.
Yeah, he's an exciting
in my
player.
Opinion.
He can play fullback as well as the wing. We've probably seen him more on the wing this year, though, haven't we?
Yeah, he played mainly fullback for Bradford, though, and he looked good at fullback. Again, fairly interchangeable positions, but yeah, he offers a little bit of flexibility, and yeah, he'll do a great job at Halifax because he's. I think I said it last time I was on. He's got, in my opinion, he's a lower quality, lower Super League quality winger or
last
fullback.
time you were on we were talking about his great performance at Magic weekend. Yeah,
exactly. So he'll do very well at Halifax and hopefully play in the middle eights.
Good stuff. Okay, Featherstone utility back Tom Holmes has been ruled out for the rest of the season after rupturing his ACL. The 22-year-old has been in fine form in the Championship this season and has even caught the eye of a couple of Super League clubs with his impressive performances. Yeah, I think Salford, Widnes, Huddersfield are all, in particular, monitoring Tom Holmes' situation. This might cool some of that interest, unfortunately, for Holmes, who, from what I've seen of him, should be playing in Super League this year. So, all the best to him in his recovery. Right, one of the biggest stories of the week. Do you want to take us through kind of the big news out of Cumbria this week?
Oh, what's been going on? Yes. So League One side Whitehaven have launched a rallying cry to the townspeople, businesses and communities to try and raise the funds required to save the club. God, this is giving me flashbacks. The club have revealed they face a shortfall of £60,000 this season, and if that money is not found, the club risks going out of business, according to the Whitehaven News. Haven have asked for 240 people or businesses to donate £250 in return for things such as season tickets for the remainder of this season and the 2019 campaign. By then, the club hope to have a significant investor on board who, if the club is saved, will commit to a 3-year plan. So the club released the following statement saying, Stuart Harvey is a businessman leading a consortium looking to invest in Whitehaven Rugby League and become part of the 3-year plan to lead the club into a strong position. Steve and members of the current board spoke frank and honestly at tonight's fans meeting at the recreation ground. As stated earlier in the week, the club are looking to raise £60,000 to cover a budget shortfall, which is crucial in developing the new consortium's 3-year plan. While this is not the full figure that is needed, Stuart and his consortium believe this is a figure that can show that the residents and businesses of Whitehaven want to keep rugby league in the town. Whitehaven have also announced that $17,000 was raised on the first day of donations.
Yeah, they've opened up a Just Giving crowdfunding page as well, haven't they? There was loads of chat that came out after this was sort of shared on Twitter. A lot of new names, so I think they must have rolled off the back of what they've seen other people they follow or something. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of new names in these mentions as well. So I'm going to run through stuff. Dave Farrer at Bronco Scholar said, another club spending money it doesn't have. Warrior at Sharon3003 said, maybe time for them to become one in Cumbria, never mind the rivalry, all should pull together. Genghis Campbell said, time to see if this Cumbrian Lakers concept is going to fly with the good doctor. Nige at Bingley, at NH Bingley, said, they'll get the blame, despite the Super League clubs casting semi-pro clubs adrift despite Super League clubs casting semi-pro clubs adrift for years, some of whom were trailblazers throughout the decades, then chucking peanuts their way from the Sky deal. Brian Davies, at Brian Davies 12, he said, absolute shambles. The semi-pro clubs in Cumbria have lost connection with the grassroots, and this is the result. They should focus on being the pinnacle of Cumbrian Rugby League for those who want to stay, and the stepping stone to Super League for Cumbrians who are willing to move. David Lawrenson simply asked, isn't Cumbria one of the hotbeds, in inverted commas? B. Ezra 3 says, add to the growing list of clubs struggling, but so long as a few clubs are fashionable, then everything in the sport is fine. Wake up, people. It might be too late soon. And then at RL Fans Saddened said, the lack of money in the sport is a major issue and we are going to lose clubs. Widnes, Salford and Huddersfield must be at risk and most non-Super League clubs must be living month to month. The RFL have gone big with expansion, but an Eddie Hearn takeover or similar might be a better bet. Biggest problem for RL is that its traditional fan base is working class and everyone is broke. Most are having to cut costs, and when the games are as bad as most are these days, it's easy to drift away from RL. Let's not talk about Eddie Hearn, but he made some other good points there. Did Saddened about the cost of going to games, how it hits the working class communities that traditionally have supported the games, and the lack of money in the sport being an issue. But bit of balance overall there. I mean, my take on it is, it seems that they've budgeted poorly for this year. Similar-ish to what Swinton were up against last year. So I don't want to. And it looked like what Rochdale had issues with before the year got started as well, even. I don't want to be too critical of them because it's very, very difficult at that level to manage things appropriately. So, I think everyone should get behind them. I'll certainly try and throw some money into the crowdfunding efforts. But it is worrying that constantly big names of the sport